Warning, censorship.
So it's unlikely informed consent, but is it consent at all? If you're doing it under duress, if you're forced to do it, if you're forced to do it, if you're threatened with the loss of your job, with the loss of your ability to leave your house and go to public places, it's not consent. If a tyrant says, without undergoing this medical procedure, you will not even be able to meet in private in your own home.
For unvaccinated people who are 12 and older, they will not be permitted to attend any private indoor social gatherings.
It's not consent if you're being threatened with having your children taken away with you. There's a divorced dad who's been writing to me saying that if he, the dad, doesn't get the jab, he's been threatened with losing access to his own children. That's not a real choice, is it? That's not free and informed consent. That's a shakedown. That's a threat. You could even call that a form of extortion. That's what thugs do. Remember this scene from The Godfather?
Well, when Johnny was first starting out, he was signed to this personal service contract with a big band leader. And as his career got better and better, he wanted to get out of it. Now, Johnny is my father's godson. And my father went to see this band leader. And he offered him $10,000 to let Johnny go. But the band leader said no. So the next day, my father went to see him, only this time with Luca Brasi. And within an hour, he signed a release for a certified check of $1,000.
How'd he do that?
My father made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
What was that?
Luca Brasi held a gun to his head, and my father assured him that either his brains or his signature would be on the contract.
So that band leader had a choice. He was given an offer he couldn't refuse, as they say in the movie. Here's how Trudeau would phrase that offer you can't refuse.
Would you support policies that prioritized vaccinated patients over those who are unvaccinated, who are in there because they made that choice?
I have heard from healthcare professionals across the country who are, as we know, exhausted from the past year and a half, who are worried about their own loved ones, who are working incredibly hard to keep all Canadians safe, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated, but who are expressing increasing frustration and little bits of anger that they are spending so much of their time trying to save people who could have saved themselves. And now is the time for people who are still resistant to getting vaccinated to realize that that choice, which has consequences on putting our kids at risk, which has consequences at having us risk more lockdowns because they haven't chosen to get vaccinated yet, that there will be consequences for those people in not being able to go to a gym or a restaurant, not being able to go to a movie theater, not being able to get on a train or a plane.
You don't want to comment on the triage because it's a provincial jurisdiction, but so are movies, so are gyms, all of those types of things. And you also say, you look pretty angry about it, that they're putting, kids and people who are vulnerable at risk. Are they not putting some people who may not get the treatment they need in hospitals at risk?
And yes, we can all say to a certain extent that it is unfortunate that people who chose not to get vaccinated are now the ones clogging up our ICU systems and our hospital beds that should be available for people who did their work and did get vaccinated. That is really unfortunate, and that is why we are unequivocal. They don't get to put others at risk by not getting vaccinated.
When the top lawmaker in the country threatens you with dire consequences if you don't undergo a medical procedure that no doctor prescribed for you, that's not free and informed consent. But who can fight against this? If you're a nurse, can you fight? I mean, you just saw Trudeau say that nurses were near to angels or saints or whatever. Oh, unless they disagree with them. And how dare they have their own opinion that's not his? Well, 20,000 nurses in Quebec don't want to take the vaccine. They've done just fine without the vaccine these past 18 months. but Quebec says it's going to fire them. Health Minister Dubé very firm that 20,000 Quebec healthcare workers need to get vaccinated by October 15th. How can they fight? Well, they have unions, right? Solidarity together, strength. Where are the unions? A few are fighting back. The Toronto Police Association, how ironic, considering how brutally they enforced the lockdown themselves. They literally sent 100 riot cops with horses to destroy a smoked meat restaurant that didn't close during the pandemic. That was fun for them, an exciting day of terrifying women and children, a chance to bring out the horses. They loved it. They loved beating up reporters too. In the name of the lockdown, here's a picture of them having a go at our reporters. But look at this. There's no bloody way they're going to be jabbed themselves. They're telling the city to stuff it. They're not going to be vaxxed. Their union is fighting back on behalf of the cops. And of course they're going to win. Now, I despise the hypocrisy, the ease with which these cops are ready to enforce the jab on others, but I have grudging respect for their ability to compartmentalize that from their own self-interest, looking out for number one. That's a good union. That actually fights for its members, no matter what the bosses say. I'd love to be in a union like that. And I bet a lot of unionized people would, because unions across Canada are selling out their members more than they're defending them. Jerry Diaz, the boss of Unifor and a close Trudeau ally, has basically said he's not going to fight for any Unifor members. So they don't have any rights, because being in a union means you delegate your rights. You give them to the union to bargain collectively, is the phrase. And Jerry Diaz is happy to take your union dues and happy to take all that power, but he's not going to upset his buddy Trudeau. So who can fight back? Well, we'll do our best. Let me close with a list of things you can expect to see in the days ahead. Many things we've already started. First, we're delivering our huge petition, over 125,000 names. I think we're up to 133,000 of Canadians against forced vaccines. You can sign up at novaccinepassports.ca if you haven't signed yet. We've delivered the first 125,000 names, and we'll keep going till we hit our goal of 200,000. It's clear that politicians don't care what mere voters think, so we're going to court too. We have filed our first lawsuits against the vaccine mandates. We filed our first lawsuit against the BC vaccine passport. We've served notice on a major union that is not representing its members. That's another lawsuit we've started. We're currently drafting a lawsuit against the Alberta vaccine passport. We've hired lawyers in other provinces too. And we'll have news very soon about strategic clients we're helping in Ontario and Quebec as well. We're in a very important Canadian election, and I want everyone to see our premium shows that are normally behind a paywall. So during the election, anyone can get free access to our special premium shows, my nightly show, a weekly show by Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies and Andrew Chapados, by going to rebelnewsplus.com and using the promo code ELECTION, and you'll see the good stuff for free. Go to rebelnewsplus.com and use promo code ELECTION.